Hey everybody, welcome back. I am here again with my good friend Dread, and we're going to be talking about episode 2 of Deca-Dence, which premiered today. Um, this is the anime that I picked this season to watch every week. As I try and be a weekly anime watcher, but only once a week. You're not going to get any more out of me than that probably for the foreseeable future. I don't know, but this show is interesting. First of all, how are you, Dread, and welcome back.
I'm good. I can't really say that I ever would answer that negatively, but I'm existing.
You're existing. Existing is good. It is good. It is good to exist. Um, and this show. All right, so I'm gonna presume that an audience listening to this, you're already into the show. This is gonna be far less synopsis based versus when we talked about episode 1. Uh, and this one, wow, I think this one just needs like the guttural reaction because this episode, I did have to watch it twice because it hit me. It hit me weird at first, and then the second time around I liked it like way more than I did the first time because this show really took, I think, an interesting risk, and I'm really hoping that it pays off. uh and I think it made it that much more interesting, but I'm kind of sad because I feel like not a lot of people are talking about the show, and they really should. This episode had a sort of a big unveiling of what about what's going on here in this world, and it's the idea that our man Kaburagi is not really the man we're seeing before us, but he is this way like bizarrely different animated alien guy, um, almost like Masaki Yuasa animation style in their world. It hit me by surprise. It was very interesting to see that they are sort of like reverse Avatar, controlling this thing on the planet and fighting these creatures in sort of like a game for them, and treating humanity as the endangered species that is basically like the NPCs. This blew my mind, and I don't
Yeah,
mean to overhype things, but it truly did. I wanted to know what your thoughts were when that got unveiled.
so there was a lot of interesting stuff going on in the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think how you described it as a risk is definitely accurate. Um, I worry that they dropped this too soon,
Yeah, it
but
seemed
I would
fast.
like to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I said risk because I do think I don't think this will be the majority of people that are checking this out, but I do think that there will be a portion of people that don't like the sudden sort of
The shift.
change, the weird shift that it does take. I was not into that sudden change in animation style, and like I like how they sort of they kept up like with both, and seemingly that's how we would continue. Oh, also the OP has a really cool blend of both sort of animation styles. The OP I thought was really cool, and yeah, this I maybe they could have held off on it, um, but I
The
think
only thing
go ahead.
is, if they did hold off on it, I can see people, as the show went on, drawing those conclusions if they
Mm-hmm.
kept hinting at things like they did in episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were already some parallels we were drawing last week to, like, Summer Wars.
Mm-hmm. I remember you talking
So
about how they're treating it like a game.
the fact that I had brought up Summer Wars last week
Mm-hmm.
worries me in the opposite direction, that if they kept up with the little hint of those avatars walking around, or the user interface out of Kaburagi's eye, or whatever might have happened, that people would have figured it out. And by people, I mean like a majority of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And then people wouldn't have seen this coming, or they would have seen this coming, and they just, the show wouldn't mean anything anymore. It would just go down as one of those predictable piles of seasonal, like,
Yeah.
trash.
And it could still become that.
Oh no, it definitely still could, because we have the risk of them doing this too early, and
Mm-hmm.
now we have 10 more episodes, 20 more episodes of this.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing that they kind of brought up was that this does happen in our world. They mentioned that Deca-Dence is based in Eurasia, owned by another company called Solid Quake,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's an entertainment facility. I
Yeah.
had to go back after watching the episode. I didn't rewatch the whole thing, but I rewatched the intro. And there's some discussion going on about what if you die in the game, and one of the avatars mentions, well, you have to start over.
Start over. And the other guy's like, well, what a bummer, right?
Yeah, it seems kind of like your character in Diablo dies on hardcore mode, and
Yeah.
oh, character's gone forever, got to make a new one,
Yeah.
which is fine. And then you have the concept of limiter. I want to say limiter removal.
I was just about to say limiter removal, but then I was going to make fun of myself for referencing a Yu-Gi-Oh card, so thank you for taking that bullet.
But
It's something like that. Yeah.
whatever they were calling it. But every time I heard them say it, I thought limiter removal.
Yeah. That's what it is. I mean, that's like an
Yeah,
accurate description. Like,
it's literally the same thing.
uh,
So
interesting
every time
concept.
they mentioned that there were the risks of pain, suffering, and death.
Yeah. Um,
Then there's also the idea of scrapping that's brought up, which is not scrapping of the character within the game world of Deca-Dence, but the character within the entertainment facility Deca-Dence.
yeah.
Which, if the character dies in the game world, then they have to start over, but then it's like layered. What if they get scrapped in the entertainment facility?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was dialogue going on during the torture and interrogation scenes where the consumers of this entertainment facility are owned by the company.
Yeah. It's weird. It's yeah. It seems like, and I also wonder like how, because the no two aliens, by the way, look like identical. I noticed. Some look sort of similar. A majority of them have like sort of a similar body, but I did notice that some of them, like the Donatello guy, look quite different than Kaburagi does in his like even in his true form.
Well, then you have the interrogator as well, which
It's a
was
completely different
basically a
design.
block.
Yeah, with a little
A
pet.
block with Kamina's glasses on.
Yeah, with a with a little pet, little like floating cute but terrifying pet thing with the scrapping scene that goes on. Um,
So what I question is, are these actually like the modern day like life forms on Earth?
my
Or are they themselves avatars within the facility? Because they market the world of Decadence as being able to see an endangered species in humanity.
I wouldn't doubt if the I'm gonna call him the director. I got so used to saying that during Tower of God, but I'm going to say that this is just a crazy, like, what's also really cool about this is it's anime original, so you like open discussion about this makes it all the more awesome, because I can't sit here and read comments that said, the manga clearly states that this happened. um uh I would not be surprised if the director has some sort of tie to the Gadol, and I wonder if this, like, there's sort of different looking alien. I say like alien players participating in this. So I wonder. We don't know anything about like we don't know much about like the scope of the like the galaxy involvement in this or something like that. But I almost perceived it as, and I don't know how deep they would really go into it, but what seems cool to me was like, what if this is like a collective of like various different aliens from different places, and this is almost like, because it's almost like they're treating this like a game, but it does seem like a very important thing to the director, but it doesn't seem of utmost importance that we are necessarily saving humans. Like, I don't get the vibe that like humans are like I think that they're sort of important within their role, but the game aspect of it is really really pushed heavily, and the rules aspect of it also seems pretty enforced and sort of sticking to your role and not standing out. So I wonder if we're going to get more knowledge about the Gadol, and I'd be very interested to see if they have any connection into like this game that's going on. Is the calamity that struck Earth, is that a product of this director guy?
I mean,
Um,
I'm almost certain that by the way we're looking at things, that the Gadals are the dominant race on Earth at the moment.
mhm.
Because when you see everything that's going on, when Kaburagi gets out of everything, I don't want to keep calling it the world of Decadence, because they strictly said that it's not a virtual world.
Yeah.
But
Because for us it's Earth. It's real. For them it's also
yeah,
real, but yeah, I get what you mean. It's like a ride.
yeah.
It's more like a theme park.
But so they come back onto the facility of Decadence with the award of the Oxyome, which seemingly keeps them going within Decadence. So without the Oxyone, they have to start over, basically.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's
But
and
what what reward would that be giving them just to continue? Like the only reward is to continue their character. It's like a carrot on a stick in a mobile game.
yeah.
So
It seems that whoever, the ranking system seems really high and promoted, and it seems like the people that are on top of that game leaderboard, like Kaburagi was, he was consistently like, I don't think he was, I tried to pay attention to this, it kind of shows it fast. I don't think he was directly number one. I saw him
he
in 2 and 3 and 5. I saw him in
yeah,
those
he was in the top, consistently the top 5, top 10.
because Mikey was climbing up and he wasn't liking that. Um, but and it seems like that guy, whoever is higher in the leaderboard, is they're very respected. They're very admonished. They're very. It seems like they get a whole lot of stuff, and then we get like a taste of like this. I like how what this episode really did was it made it like episode 1. I walked out of it like it was going to be sort of like, and I'm going to bring up the Attack on Titan comparison again, where we might be in this sort of tight knit space for a while, asking a lot of questions. And what this episode broke through in regards to that is we might spend like times in the future within sort of tighter scenarios, but now we know the world is incredibly vast. It is like this is like the world that Natsume knows is very very small to like what's actually happening, and I find that so fascinating. I find that so, and just how it's like it's so weird how they're working like the humans like still exist to be these like this like tanker class. Like I am curious as to, are they, what is the necessity of the humans, like in the eyes of the I'm gonna call him the director, in the or the I forget the name of the organization. I almost want to say Solid State.
Solid Quake.
Solid
Solid
Quake.
Quake.
The solid state drive. The Solid Quake. Because they do mention them. They're this endangered species, and they're like in this like protective aspect. And to acquire the what is it, Oxion?
The Oxion, yeah. So it almost seems like, because the tanker's job is to support the gears, and the gears are the people that now we know are coming from the facility, that humanity themselves are kind of just slaves to the gears.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is now we know more about Kaburagi and the whole bug situation. But the way the episode ended, it brings up a lot of questions about Natsume. And
Yeah.
we haven't really touched on her yet, because I mean, the episode barely touched on her.
Yeah, I was gonna say that she's I like her a lot, but she's not in this episode a whole lot, and we didn't really touch on like I was questioning sort of like human involvement within the society. There's also like what Kaburagi was doing toward the end of the episode that Natsume catches him doing, taking out a little straw and sucking out some stuff from people. But Natsume, I like her a lot. She's not in this episode all that much, which I didn't like at first. It's so interesting that I bothered to watch it twice, because the second time gave me a different sort of outlook. I like knowing more about Kaburagi, because I was kind of worried that Kaburagi was going to be a character that we find out a lot about too late. I thought he was just going to be the quiet, tough guy. You would find out like, oh, he used to be this fighter or something like that. Like he used to go out on crazy ass adventures and shit. But
in a way, he's kind of just as important, if not more, than Natsume at the moment.
Oh, exactly. And this episode really, really painted that picture. And I think it's an interesting thing. You look at his relationship with Natsume, and I like the shots where it's him looking at her, and you see, you know, he's in his I'm gonna call it like avatar body. He's in his humanoid body, which is looking at her, and he has this constant like beeping in his eyes about because he hasn't taken in any the oxen or whatever it's called, and he needs to do it. And she's of course being herself. She is this funny, charming young girl who just wants a better life and wants to learn things from this guy. And he's not really about it, but he learns by the end of the episode that she is a huge benefit to him and is truly unique in this world for reasons that are still weird, because it says that she's dead, or she's like, she doesn't have like a reading or whatever it is on their, she's not part of their system, which is...
Well, so when they did the facial recognition scan, she didn't come up.
Yeah.
And then he did like a full system scan after that, and she came up as a child, it looked like that died,
Yeah, it looked
but
like a picture of
her
her as a young
herself
kid.
has aged up. So there's a ton of possibilities. Maybe she was presumed dead at some point in the timeline, or maybe there's some more crazy shit going on that we're gonna figure out.
And I try to remember in the first episode, is the dad mentioned as a gear? I don't recall exactly, but I do
I
remember him
mean,
going back
he
out.
he went into battle.
Right.
If he would,
They did say rarely people like other people can what are they called? Tankers could like promote
which would then make him a gear. So I would assume he would have been.
mm-hmm. But is he an alien?
Well, that dives us into some like Darling in the Franks territory where people are Klaxosaurs too.
I need to watch
So
Darling in the Franxx so I can get all these references. Although people tell me it's maybe not, it might not be worth my time, but I don't know. 02 looks kind of waifu though. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, not Natsume's just 02, but better. Zero two
Okay.
is just kind. 02 is just kind of, bait. Of course, everybody gravitated to the demon girl with pink hair.
Weird how it's almost like anime fans are predictable.
Yeah,
um, but
Natsume, we actually have some like genuine stuff going on and some like interesting things that could happen.
mm,
So I could see people in the future saying, "Oh, she's a really good character," if the story continues in this kind of layered fashion, and we keep figuring out stuff about who Natsume is, what the world is like,
yeah,
and really the last scene kind of brought up another question for me. When Kaburagi puts the Oxyon in, why does it necessarily ask him to reboot? And what does rebooting
yeah.
the
What does it mean?
the avatar within the world of Decadence do? Because from my perspective, I'm like, they're in the middle of a conversation. Is he just going to disappear
Yeah,
and reappear?
she'd be like, "Wow, where did you go? Where'd you go, boss?" um, yeah, that's interesting. I also like how he, if I read it correctly, when he was kind of bumming out, and he had the thing of the Oxium, and it said like I want to say it said like 145 years until you're depleted.
175, I think it said.
175. And then he chucks onto the ground and he's like, what's the point or whatever. And he
Then the next scene, it says that his levels are low.
yeah, well, and then
So
I'm assuming time has gone forward.
how old is he really?
Right. Yeah, and then time, because I think it's like I think they say like 7 years. There's the scene in like the truck where they're talking about limiter removal. I think it said 7 years ago.
It did.
And then it says 145 years until like you're out, right? And that's when he was all sort of like depressed, and he has to do this. He's living his new mission now for the director, which is being this cleaner guy, but also like a secret agent sort of dude. And he's basically, this is him losing. He's like, prior to meeting Natsume, lost all motivation for really things, and is an empty shell, pretty much, and is kind of just like, I saw it as he's like basically just ready to like let himself like die, like just like let himself dwindle down to nothing. And then obviously Natsume comes around, and then obviously then the story that is unfolding hits, and then it goes back to his alien realm, and he goes. I just found it funny how that same little bottle was still on the ground.
Oh yeah, he still kept it.
So if it's 145 I wonder how is there like time dilation? Is there like
So there could be that. There's also possibly that time could be a currency. They have to
oh,
spend time to enter the world of Decadence or whatever other attractions the facility may have.
mm-hmm.
Uh, the money within the world itself might be time.
Oh, that's super interesting. This show, oh my goodness. Like this for me was a big step up from episode 1 and I didn't think episode 1 was bad. This got me way more interested. I really want more people to talk about this show. I'm putting some high expectation on it. I love how it's an anime original. I like how it's got some. The people that made this have, I think, some guts in what
Oh,
they've
definitely.
decided to do. Uh, they could fuck up. This might not go down, but I think even if it fucks up, I think like even like the beginning of it, I'm gonna remember it as like a really cool transition, really cool shift.
At
Um,
this point, what we can say is the creators have a lot of balls to try, and even if it fails and it does kind of turn to shit at the end, it was still a ballsy move, and they should be respected for that.
oh, for sure.
Because from these first two episodes, what I will say is that they're looking at the old stuff: Attack on Titan,
Hmm. For
Seraph
sure.
of the End, Cabaneri, all of that stuff.
Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann. But they're turning it into something different.
Hmm.
When we came out of episode 1, we really thought this was going to be Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Just a lot of things were so familiar to us. But now I don't really know what to compare it to now. Really, my closest thing is Summer Wars, and even then, that feels like a stretch.
Yeah. I it's not an anime, but it makes me think a lot about James Cameron's Avatar. But because I like what's most intriguing to me is not the action, it's not necessarily the relationship between like individual characters, although that is really good too. I like scenes with Kaburagi and Natsume. I am most interested in the
The world.
yeah, and the people, like the what would it be? The like anthropology of it, like the how like I like the relationship. I just want to know more about humanity's relationship with these aliens because it acts like the humans are under like they're so they see that these people have the gears. There's that scene where the gears died and they're doing the funeral, right? And they're burning the bodies and they're saying all this like nice things about these people from the human perspective, right? The humans are saying, "Oh well, these guys went out and died. Um, they got themselves killed or whatever." I want to know: are there humans that know everything that's going on? Is there a higher level of humanity? Because the OP kind of spoils has like it's seemingly different looking human beings. Uh, are there people that have a higher level of knowledge of what's going on versus the people on like the true like base level? Because Natsume clearly doesn't know much, or she isn't shown to know a whole lot of like necessarily the truth that's going on. That's gonna get unveiled to her. I'm really excited for that. Um, but I thought this episode was really cool. Um, Definitely excited for more. And the interesting sort of contrast in art styles I thought was an interesting touch.
I do
Uh,
have a feeling that if there are humans that know more, they're most likely just the tankers that became gears.
yeah.
And at that point, even though we're pretty much seeing and assuming that humanity is enslaved by the company, the gears also have this kind of like slave relationship with the company itself. And it wouldn't surprise me that there would be some kind of clause somewhere that says if you reveal information that you shouldn't, because there were those private channels that they were talking in.
Oh yeah, they're heavily monitored. It seems.
Yeah, they're heavily monitored, so they need to open private channels to talk about certain things. I wouldn't doubt that if a tanker found out from a gear, especially from a gear that used to be a tanker, about the truth of the world, that they wouldn't just scrap those people right away
Mm-hmm.
and do whatever it takes to preserve the truth from getting out.
Man, this world is so interesting, Dread. Oh my goodness! Like this episode did a whole lot, at least for me. I am really into this series, and yeah. If nothing else, I think I think that I'm just really glad that I picked at least these first two episodes to watch in a season, because
Oh no,
if
right?
I had missed this, I would have been like, oh wow. And not a lot of people were talking about it from what I've tried to look. There's not a ton of content about it, and hopefully that changes. But
Which surprises me because this is a kind of small season.
yeah, a lot of
Because
sequels. Well, we have ReZero that exists.
yeah, a lot of sequels, but the season itself kind of got shrunk from the last time I looked at the chart. I assume because of COVID and everything.
Yeah, I
That
I
it,
presumed
it
the monster of ReZero would take over attention.
I mean, definitely yes, but it's not like I keep up with any of those conversations
Right.
anymore.
Oh,
So I don't
I've never
really.
even seen the first ReZero, so I'm a fake anime
Well,
fan.
my whole point is because I don't really watch the new stuff as it comes out, and I don't really follow the discussions alongside them. So I don't really see anybody's videos about any of this stuff
Right.
because here I am watching this show. I'm reading Black Clover after catching up with One Piece. I'm watching Japan Sinks 2020,
Ooh.
which just got dropped on Netflix like last week, and reading other manga that I picked up, like Junji Ito stuff.
Mm.
So
You descended.
ReZero's current discussion is like the least of my.
Right. Well, you're within that ascension to to more manga. Like I feel like the balance of manga toward anime, especially if like pounding through One Piece like you did.
I wouldn't say I
I'm
pounded through it.
pretty envious. Well, fairly, and now okay. Maybe I won't say pound, but going through it and then going into Black Clover. Was there one in between that you did in between One Piece and Black Clover? Well, you also did Naruto, right? All of
I
Naruto
did Naruto way
a
before.
while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, Bleach
Um.
in between those,
Mm-hmm. Um.
and I'm reading like a bunch of Junji Ito stuff on the side.
I'm getting a. I'm gonna be doing a huge unboxing. Huge. I'm getting a ton of manga very very soon because I had some money from my birthday. Oh, by the way, happy birthday! By the way, we wait till 33 minutes in. Uh, this lovely day is Dred's birthday, and mine was yesterday. So the greatest people are born in July, just like Julius Caesar himself. Uh, but yeah, before we get even more off track, my takeaways are I'm really liking the show. I'm really glad that I'm watching it so far. This was a banger of an episode. I think and unveiled a lot of like really cool, interesting things. I think they're taking a cool shot with it. Is there any
I
other things you want to mention?
I agree. I just still also think that this could be an unveiling that's too soon. But we really got to wait and see how this goes because this kind of swing just kind of, even though there were hints for it, kind of didn't feel like it would come this soon in this way.
Yeah. Okay. But what did you guys think about Deca-Dence episode 2? Let us know down below. Please check out Dreade's channel as well. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Miasma Senpai. And I got a Patreon link in the description too if you feel like supporting the channel that way. But thank you to everybody that already supports me on Patreon. Thanks to Dreade for coming by. And thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. My name is Miasma, and I'll see you next time.